don't we move then to the next phase where you all have a chance to talk to each other? This is your opportunity to gain clarity about some of the things that have been placed upon the table that may be perplexing to you, or that you just don't have the level of understanding that you would like. So, for example, tell us a little bit more about some of the specifics related to your teaching load.
Well, to me, the key, and I think, well, you said it. You said the administration basically required more faculty hours with students. I can see that. I know that that was not your choice. It was required. It was in all the papers. We all knew that it was coming down. It was not a surprise. Is it a good thing for students? I don't know. It seems to me counterproductive. It's the way the system works. Okay. But the way the system works hurt me personally. The way the system works was to say, number one, okay, to meet this particular need of the upper administration, you're going to teach this big class, which for me took 3 times as much work as a regular class because I was trying to be a good instructor. I was trying to meet with my students. I was trying to do more than just phone it in. I was trying to do more than just Scantron tests. To do anything worthwhile in that setting, I felt like I had to invest more time that came immediately out of my research. 1 semester, great. 2nd semester, same tune, 2nd verse. Here we go again. In other words, I felt like I was bearing the brunt of this requirement from the upper administration at the time that I most needed some release to get my research done so that I could move towards promotion. I felt like you never acknowledged that. You never saw that. You were only meeting the needs of the administration. I didn't see how you were working to meet my needs as the head, only to satisfy the president.
And from my perspective, I thought I was making accommodations to you by reducing you. Every time you came to see me with a request, and we said, okay, want to reduce the committee load, we'll reduce the committee load. You want a teaching assistant, we'll give you a teaching assistant. So for me, those were considerations of you. Now, obviously, from your perspective, they weren't enough.
Well, I'll confess that there's no question you did work to give me the research assistant, and you did reduce my committee load, and that helped. It did help. I'll give that. But it's still this sense of a tenure crunch time. I'm under the gun, and as far as I know, it's going to be the same thing next year. I'm going to be doing all this teaching, and I'm not going to make it. I'm going to fall through the promotion review simply because I've been doing all this great service for the department. And I don't feel that you've ever addressed that need.
I guess I would hope somewhere along the way you would stop thinking about that teaching load as service to the department, because it is something that various faculty share. I mean, you aren't the only one who was asked to do that. Now, admittedly, you are at a different stage in your career from most of your colleagues right now. You're one of the few beginning faculty in our department. And maybe we need to take another look at that. And in some other facet of accommodation for it. I'm not, in my role as administrator, I have to always look at what the needs of the department are and what the personnel are that are available to us, how we can meet those needs, and then try to make the best decisions possible. But maybe we need to look again at that.
And before we start to look ahead at what may be workable solutions, let me just revisit some of the things that you all have said as your primary interest area. For example, Ron, I heard you say once again that really at the core, you are quite concerned about making it through the promotion and tenure process. Also, you stated other interests related to serving the students well, and making sure that your teaching load can then accommodate serving the students well. You talked also about questions regarding the future, whether any release that you have now will have an impact in the future if there isn't some plan in place for continuation. And I hear also that you are saying the acknowledgement for your past efforts in terms of the load that you have taken on in the past. And Sylvia, if I restate your key issues, I certainly hear that you have really tried to place some strategies on the table that you thought in your leadership role would be helpful. The adding on of the research assistant, for example, the reduction of the teaching load, as well as trying to offer the accommodation of less committee work for Ron. And it seems that you are really concerned that you haven't gotten the acknowledgement that you have tried to be a good steward or good leader in your department in looking at some of those issues.
I'm really concerned that we haven't gotten to a place where that it's been helpful.
Mm-hmm. And I know that as we're talking about strategies that will be helpful, we'll move from looking at the past and look at the future in terms of some things that you can agree upon that will move you forward in the future. But before going to that stage, I wanted to just make sure that you have had the chance to present and also have heard some of the key issues for you and your primary interest at this stage. Are there some other things you want to elaborate upon?
I think that's the key for me, really is promotion is the key.
Okay. And that this area certainly has a great impact on you and your future.
Absolutely.
And I suppose having some security or confidence that Ron understands his role within the larger unit is important to me. That we can't always accommodate everything an individual wants when we're responsible for the larger unit, the whole group. And I would hope that we could come to some kind of understanding about that.
Mm. And in that vein, I certainly hear, and I even heard earlier, Ron, when you talked about the system. And Sylvia, you are acknowledging that there is a larger system and that there are a lot of facets to put in place when you're looking at trying to work with an individual in a fairly large department.